Hi everyone, my name is Audrey and welcome to my channel. Today I'm giving you my first quarterly wrap-up. So the first quarter of the year is already done with, and this year I'm doing it a little bit differently with quarterly updates where I talk about the books because I have not been reading as much as I want to, and I feel like these very short repetitive videos are tedious to make but also probably to watch. Well, it is for me who edits them. So I'm doing this differently, and I also put a very different type of goal for reading this year. So I'm trying something new. Hopefully it will work out. So for the first quarter of 2026, I've read 8 books. It's not as much as I want to, but I am still ahead my basic goals. So I'm giving myself 3 modes to be able to achieve kind of like levels, if you wish, by the end of the year, so that I don't feel like a failure if I don't read as many books as I wanted to. So the easy mode is to read 24 books this year, which is very easily attainable for me. Even if I have a bad year, that means 2 books per month, easily doable. And so far, I'm ahead of that challenge. I'm not quite at the medium mode, which is to read 36 books in the year, which means 3 books per month. I'm missing 1 book to be able to be at that medium mode point, but it's not too bad, still doable, I think. And the hard mode is to read 52 books in the whole year, 1 per week, which I have not been able to do ever since I started Goodreads, which was during the pandemic. So I think the highest number of books I've read in a year was 44. So I'm not quite there, but that was a good reading year for me. And last year was horrible. I don't even know if I got to 30 books read. So like it was that bad. I have 28 in mind. I'm not sure. I may be mistaken. But anyways, I'll try to put it on the screen there. But yeah, so far, easy mode is good to go. I'm almost at medium mode, so not too bad. And the summer is yet to come, which is where I'm also going to be reading a lot more, which I'm still hopeful that I'll be able to manage. And I'm still very hopeful that the next beginning of the school year, so the last 4 months of 2026, shouldn't be as bad, and I'm going to be a little bit more prepared than this year. That's what I'm aiming at. But yeah, so far, 8 books read, and that's where we're at. Let's go with the books one by one. In the previous wrap-up videos that I did, I used to start with the buzzword readathon, the year in Elja readathon, and then so on and so forth with everything that I was choosing to do, if I was participating in another readathon for that month, or books I'm trying to do for dedicated vlogs, or the Robin Hobb books, things like that. But since I'm covering up all of the 3 first months, I'm probably not gonna go there. I'll talk about the books first and then rewind where I'm at with those challenges. So I'm still participating in the Buzzword Readathon, the year in Elja, and I'm still reading Robin Hobb books, and I am still doing my wrapped books. So as you can see here, there's one that doesn't stick anymore, but my son picks books for me that are wrapped. Those are books that I haven't read at all, that are on my TBR, that are not sequels to other books, and I wrap them up and make my son pick any of those. So that makes me accountable for reading books that have been on my TBR for longer, and not choosing only like recent purchases, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm doing every month, but I'll get back to those by the end of this video. So in January, I only managed to read one book, and that one was Tales from the Cafe by Toshikatsu Kawaguchi. This is book number 2 of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It's basically short stories of people that go to this cafe, and there's a special spot in that cafe where, with the proper ceremony and rules, you can travel through time. There are many rules for this to work, and you can only do that once. And you follow these people that actually get to time travel. And it's usually a lot about grief and grieving something that's lost, grieving in a broad sense. You do also follow the people that do run the cafe as well. And you do see a little bit more how that works and how different people can make that work in this cafe, if that makes sense, compared to the first one. I preferred book number 1 though, because there's one in here that I really did not like how the matter was brought up and how it was kind of brushed off as if to say, like, you have to be happy nonetheless and try to be happy and not acknowledge the grief of it. And it had to do with miscarriage and everything that revolves around fertility and miscarriage, all that stuff. That gets to me so badly. And I did not like how that was handled. So that is why I'm giving it a 4-star. I wasn't as touched by the stories as I was in the first one, which made me cry, like literally cry, which I don't do often. But this one, I mean, I had a good time. I was annoyed by that particular story, but other than that, I still enjoyed it. Still love being in this universe. And I am definitely going to be picking up the next book in this series. For the month of February, surprisingly, it was my best month of the quarter, and I read 4 books for that month. So the first one was The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This one, I don't know why, but I was told it was a dystopian book, and it's not. It's following this young boy who lived in Afghanistan before the war, and then you see afterwards what happened. And there's different timelines in there, in the 2000s and before in the 80s-ish. So you go through around all of that and you follow the life of this little boy who isn't a little boy in the 2000s anymore, but you get what I'm saying. It was heartbreaking to read. If you know me, you know I love to read about different cultures, different countries. I was not necessarily in the mood for a historical fiction. I did not think that this was historical fiction getting into it, but I was not disappointed. I really enjoyed my reading experience. It was rough to read. It is quite violent. It is set around a war, so keep that in mind when you're getting into it, but I really enjoyed my reading experience. I do feel like there was a little bit of a pacing issue through a couple of passages throughout the book, but it wasn't that bad that it affected my enjoyment of the book. I gave this book 4.5 stars. The next book I read was Je m'appelle Frida Kahlo by Sophie Fauché. So this is a book about Frida Kahlo's life. It is a picture book, but it is so gorgeous. It is also written by a French-Canadian actress and illustrated by Cara Carmina. And the actress actually wrote the text. And I'm a big fan of Frida Kahlo's work, so I wanted to get this book. I counted it as a read because I don't typically count picture books in my Goodreads goals, because otherwise I would have had like 300 plus books on my Goodreads, which is a bit ridiculous. And a lot of those would have been repeats because I read a lot with my son. So, but I did include this one because I picked this one in 2 years ago at a book con that is actually coming up really, really soon in April. But yeah, I think it was the one 2 years ago, and I didn't get to read it. But since I did vlog about it and buying it and all that, I did decide to include this one. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It's a very simple. It's very simple, but like perfect for children who are trying to learn more about her and her work and how she got to where she was. And I really, really loved the illustrations that I thought were amazing. So yeah, I gave it a 4 stars. The next book I read was We Did Okay Kid by Sir Anthony Hopkins. I have admired Anthony Hopkins' work for so long, ever since I was a kid. And I saw the Mask of Zorro movie, and I watched that one on repeat like so many times. I knew the movie by heart, line by line, and I loved his work. I did not watch Silence of the Lamb till I was way older because I was too scared of it. I'm a very scaredy cat when it comes to horror films. I did watch it though, and he's just brilliant. He has a sensitivity to the human being and human emotions that is unexplainable, that like I connect to it so much, and I've been loving his work so much. So I was really excited to pick this one up. And I don't usually typically read memoirs, but this one I was ready to get into it. It did feel a little bit like another historical fiction because, well, he was living through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, all that stuff. So he's like going back through childhood and to this day. He is not that young anymore. So it did kind of feel like historical fiction, but I really enjoyed to see what his life was like and his own vision of what he was going through and how he felt it and perceived it. And there's something, I don't necessarily want to spoil it, but there's something about a diagnosis when he was like in his 70s, I think. And it just explains so much. And it really explains how and why he wrote the book the way that he did. It just makes so much sense. So yeah, I was really, really happy to read this. I had a good time. I really enjoyed that he included some photographs throughout. He did talk about his work, his childhood a lot, but his work, his theater work, as well as his film work. He talked a lot about Silence of the Lamb, but he didn't talk about The Mask of Zorro. So I was a bit disappointed with that. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed reading this book. And I do see him as way differently, but not necessarily in a bad way. So really enjoyed my time with this book. I don't know if I'm actually going to be rereading it, but I'm glad that I got to read it. I did not give this book a rating because I don't feel comfortable with rating a memoir. So no rating for this one. And the last book I read for February was a book that I read with my son. And I did count it because it's not a picture book. So it is a manga. And since I do count mangas when I read them, I thought I might as well count them in too because we're reading them together and I should count them. So that book was One Piece Volume 1, which I don't have with me at the moment. We bought my son the bind up of the first 3 volumes. So we have volume 1, 2, and 3. Volume 1, we finished it in February. I'm giving it a 4 stars. I do enjoy it. I'm not wowed by it so far, but I really did enjoy this first installment. Curious to see where it's gonna lead, but yeah. And finally, for the month of March, I've read 3 books. The first 2 are One Piece Volume 2 and One Piece Volume 3. So we basically finished the bind up in March. I did not enjoy book number 2 as much. I didn't necessarily like the villain, and I felt like it just kept on going. and going and going, and it wasn't going anywhere until it finally did. But like, I have a pacing issue with these stories. I don't know if it's a me thing or if it's like I'm just not vibing with the manga that much or like the story. I don't know. But I hate when the villains just keep on staying the villain for so long. And it has a kind of recipe type of writing to it, which I'm not a big fan of. But it was a fun time nonetheless. I am giving volume 2 a 3 stars and volume 3 a 3.5. And finally, the last book I read for this quarter is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. I loved this book so much. I do want to say though that this is definitely not for everyone. From the reviews that I've seen, you either love it or you don't. And there's a lot of people who do not like this style, that don't necessarily find it funny, that don't enjoy having that fourth wall broken. I'm a huge fan of breaking the fourth wall. I'm a huge fan of that. And I love when the author, well, in this case, it's not the author, but the main character talks to the reader. And it's just witty and brilliant. And I love it so much. And you kind of get into that like mystery type of book where you're trying to figure out the pieces of the puzzle. And sometimes some pieces, like it's part of the puzzle, but not necessarily the key to what this investigation is about. It's so interesting. I did manage to guess a couple of things, but not necessarily the full reveal, but I did guess a couple of things. Not necessarily from the start either, so that's good. I do enjoy being right and trying to guess things when I guess plot twists. So it's not necessarily that it was predictable per se. I don't think so. I really enjoyed it and I had an amazing time with it. I cannot wait to get to the other books in this series. I gave this book a 5 stars. Okay, so for the buzzword challenge for the month of January, it is to read a book with the word before or after in the title. For that one, I chose Tokyo Ever After. I did not get to it just yet, so I still need to read it. For February, it was to read a book with a keyboard key in the title. For that one, I chose Je m'appelle Frida Kahlo because of the apostrophe here. That one is read, so yay. Then for March, the prompt was to read a book with this, that, these, or those in the title. And for that one, I chose to go with That Time I Got Drunk. And I think it's called I Saved a Human. It's book number 3 in the series. I'll put it up here. I have not read it just yet. It is going to be on my reader. I haven't purchased it yet because complicated, but I will soon and get to it as soon as possible. So by the end of the first quarter, I still have 2 unfinished prompts for the Buzzwordathon. If you're interested in any of these readathons, I'll put the links of the original creators in the description so you can go ahead and check it out for yourself. If you don't know, the Year in Elja, it is kind of like a side quest to the Aurelium readathon that happened in April and in September. And those, you have 1 prompt per month and you have to follow it in order because it's kind of like a pathway that you follow on a map. So you can't skip some months. Buzzword, I will freely go through the prompts depending on like what month it was in. I don't necessarily read them in order as long as I'm done with them by the end of the year. But the Year in Elja, you actually have to do them in order. So for January, the prompt was to read a book that was published in 2025. For that one, I went with the Anthony Hopkins book. So that one is done with. For February, the prompt was to read a book from your bottom right shelf. As I don't have any unread books on my shelves, I keep them on my TBR card. So I went with the shelf of my TBR card and I picked up Lair of Dreams, which is book number 2 of the Diviners, and I haven't finished the Diviners just yet. So as you can guess, I haven't gotten to the prompt of February. And for the month of March, the prompt is to read a book with food on the cover. For that one, I chose the Southern's Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires. I don't own it yet, but since I haven't read Lair of Dreams, I'm not going to get to it just quite yet now. So I do have quite a bit of reading before getting to it. So I have time to purchase it, no worries. But yeah, I'll be able to get to that once I'm done with Lair of Dreams. For my wrapped books, the one that my son chose for January was Tales from the Cafe. So that one has been read. The wrapped book for February was Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, so read again. And the one for March was The Shadow of What Was Lost, which I haven't read. But I only have one book from that series of books that I haven't read, that I'm rolling over to the next quarter, which is not too bad. Next, I'm also doing 2 dedicated vlogs at the moment. The first one is The Diviners. And as you can see, I have not even finished my reread of the book number 1. So there's that. The other dedicated vlog I'm doing is the Grishaverse books. So right now I'm on to Ruin and Rising, which I haven't finished reading just yet. And I don't know where it is. I can't find it. I think it's upstairs because I wanted to read it. Yeah, I think it's in my bedroom. I didn't read it yesterday. Anyways, yeah, I'm still on Ruin and Rising. I will hopefully keep on reading some more and get to the end of that because I still have 4 more books to get to before I get that vlog out. And I cannot wait to share this with you. But yeah. And finally, I am reading the Robin Hobb books. I have been trying to read them for the last 2 years. And like all 16, is it 16 books? Anyways, I'm not very good with keeping up with that. I should have been done like last year because I was aiming at 1 per month. But like these books are so thick, so thick. So it took me 2 years to read the first 5 books. So the Assassin's Apprentice, The Royal Assassin, and Assassin's Quest, as well as the second trilogy, which is the Life Ship trilogies, Ship of Magic, Mad Ship, and right now I'm still on Ship of Destiny. I'm not very far into it, 160 pages, which is not too bad, but it's out of 842 pages. I do have the next trilogy ready to be read, but I'm loving these. They're just so big. And I do tend to prioritize other books for like readathons and stuff. So it does tend to be put on the side sometimes, which is why I think I don't make as much progress in them as I would want to, because once I'm into them, I'm into them. And I love Robin Hobb's books so much, and her writing and like everything about it. I love it. So that's pretty much it for now. I'm quite happy with it, considering everything that was going on at the time with the year I've been having at school. It was very, very busy. It is about to get busy again, but it's not too bad, honestly. And I'm preparing myself mentally so that I don't fall behind again and that I do try to prioritize reading nonetheless. But it shouldn't be as bad as it was since the beginning of the school year, getting back on top of things, which is good and encouraging. But yeah, I've rambled enough now, so I'm gonna leave you at that. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you agree with my ratings, my reviews of these books. Have you read any of them? I would love to know. Like, comment, subscribe if you wish. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. And I will see you soon in the next one.